It's fair to say that most gamers have probably made up their minds by now whether they love or detest Koei Tecmo and Omega Force's video games. The creators of Dynasty Warriors and the countless Musou spin-off games that have followed seem to have as many passionate fans as they do vehement haters. Whilst there are those who love the tried and tested combat and gameplay, there are others who find the games to be overly repetitive, dull and lacking in innovation. I find myself sitting somewhere in the middle of these two diametric views. The Warriors games to me are fun and tedious in equal measure. There's a simple joy that comes from hacking and slashing hordes of monsters, but also a creeping sense of monotony that sets in as I spend more time playing. I do have fun when playing the Warriors games, but that fun always ends after I reach a point where I get bored and decide to play something else. I loved Hyrule Warriors for example upon release, but after playing it for a week or two, it's been left to gather dust on my shelf and I've never really gone back to it. Attack on Titan Wings of Freedom however might just be the game that breaks this habit. Yes, it still suffers from many of the same faults found in Koei Tecmo's other games, but it also manages to be perhaps their most ambitious and unique product so far. Part of the reason why this is the case is down to the source material itself. Wings of Freedom follows the narrative of the first anime season of Attack on Titan, a show in which humanity is on the brink of extinction due to colossal beasts called Titans, naked sexless giants who have a taste for humans. In order to fight back against this threat, the omnidirectional movement device was devised, or as it's better known, ODM. The ODM device is essentially a tool that allows the user to turn into a medieval Spider-Man as they fly through the air and latch onto buildings, parts of the environment and Titans themselves. The combat within the anime is frantic, exciting and very stylish, and I'm glad that the developers managed to do it justice in video game form. From the moment the player steps into Eren's shoes during the first training mission, there's a sense of pure joy when soaring and swinging through the air. Traversing the environment not only controls wonderfully, it's also incredibly simple to perform. The square button on the PS4 is used to launch the wires that latch onto the environment or object, whilst the X button is used to give the player a boost of speed. A nice little touch that I'm particularly fond of is the fact that the player cannot use the ODM device if there is nothing around them to latch onto. This helps to create a brief sense of panic and powerlessness, due to the fact that the player temporarily cannot defend themselves or make a quick escape, which helps to heighten the tension. In order to kill or subjugate Titans as the game likes to call it, players need to successfully slice open their napes. This is achieved by connecting with said body parts using the ODM device, and then hacking away until their health bar is depleted. It sounds simple enough, but if the timing and positioning aren't correct when making the approach, things aren't going to end well. If the player doesn't have enough speed, then they are not going to do enough damage. If their position isn't correct, they risk missing the nape entirely. And finally, if they spend too long moving around whilst connected to the Titan, either their ODM might detach from the beast, ruining their subjugation attempt, or there's a chance the Titan may grab them and attempt to ingest them. It certainly does get a hell of a lot easier to pull off as one puts more hours into the game, but I still believe that there's a certain finesse in destroying Titans that perhaps isn't found in Koei Tecmo's other games. The main story mode, known as Attack Mode, is where players will spend most of their time slaughtering Titans. Over the course of a 10 or so hour long campaign, the player controls various prominent characters from the source material, engaging in missions based on sequences from the show. Despite sticking close to the source material, the game does take some liberties with it. I don't remember seeing Armin successfully take down the female Titan in the anime for example. However, on the other hand, it is interesting to see what the Scout Division were up to during the battle on Trost in more detail. Unfortunately, I feel as those who aren't familiar with the Attack on Titan manga or anime will have a hard time keeping up and understanding what the hell is going on. To its credit, the game does try to rectify this by having a comprehensive database of information available, but this still doesn't come anywhere close to filling in all the gaps. One key example is the reveal of the female Titan's identity. It's a massive component of the anime, whereas in Wings of Freedom, most players who aren't familiar with the source material will probably just give a confused shrug when her identity is revealed. I think the said character only appears in about one scene in the video game before this reveal, making it extremely hard to care about what should be a big event. The missions themselves in Attack Mode are varied enough for players to enjoy the campaign to its conclusion. On top of this, there are a ton of side missions available that when completed unlock an epilogue episode that focuses on a titan not yet seen in the anime, which is a nice little extra reward for fans. In between missions, the player can also talk to various characters and complete requests, as well as upgrade their equipment. Like a lot of the Warriors games, Wings of Freedom's difficulty curve could be described as backwards when compared to traditional video games. This is a game that becomes increasingly easier the longer one spends with it. As players progress and unlock and purchase better equipment, Titans become easier to kill and much less of a threat, which is at odds with the story that the game is trying to tell. It's kind of strange that when the stakes are being raised in the narrative, the player is flying through the air killing Titans easier than ever. I think I only died once during the entire campaign, so those looking for a significant challenge are going to end up being sorely disappointed. In terms of playable characters, there are 4 present during the main campaign, but 10 in total are available to play through the various side missions. It's nice to see that all my personal favourites are featured, and that they are all unique enough to warrant inclusion. Whereas a character such as Levi is centred on being extremely efficient in taking down Titans, Hand Zoe is able to give out orders to allies fighting alongside her. And for once in a Warriors game, the AI is actually pretty decent, both in terms of the enemies and friendly AI. Enemies don't just stand there waiting to be killed like in other titles. The Titans will actually hunt down the player, crashing through buildings and diving into the air in an attempt to quench their hunger. The friendly characters also help by providing support when the player is in trouble, and by taking down Titans as directed. Sure, there are still a few niggles here and there, but it's a vast improvement on the static enemies and companions found in other Warriors titles. In terms of graphics, the visuals do look nice, but it's easy to tell that this is a multi-platform and multi-generational release. It's not the prettiest game available on the PS4, and I have experienced some slowdown when faced with a large number of enemies, but on the whole the game runs well without any major problems. To conclude, Attack on Titan is quite possibly the most un-Musou-like game Koei have created, and although it does share a similar DNA to many of their titles, it's also their most different and creative project that I've played, which is in part due to the fantastic source material on which it is based on. Whilst it can be argued that this is a game purely designed for the fans, it also might do just enough to stir up interest in newcomers to the franchise, even if it does skip a lot of crucial story details. It does have its problems like all Warriors games and their spin-offs do, but Attack on Titan Wings of Freedom is also incredibly fun and packed with content, and might just be the best game Koei Tecmo have made in a long time.